Hey, guess what? It's time for Making Kayfabe with your hosts, Bryce and Dylan.
Hello, everybody. Welcome back to another excellent episode of Making Kayfabe. It's the show where Bryce and Dylan and Bryce go back to wrestling history and we go and change it in our own image. And with a little bit of luck, we'll have our good friends Viscera and Reno along the way to help us out. Isn't that right, Bryce?
That's absolutely right. Am I Bryce or am I and Bryce?
You're and Bryce. We haven't found the first
Bryce,
Bryce yet.
We do love a bit of Viscera and Reno, but that's not who we're here to discuss today.
Well, maybe you're not, but I'm definitely here to discuss Reno.
I mean, I'm always down to discuss Viscera and Reno, but we've got more pressing matters to attend to.
If you say so. A lot of the listeners, I think, would agree with me in that they love talking about Reno. But you know what? For the sake of simplicity, why don't I tell everybody what today's episode is going to be about?
I beg to differ about that. I think a good percentage of our listener base would think, who the fuck is Reno? Because who the fuck is Reno?
Are we going to have to do a Twitter poll, which is who is what, Viscera versus Reno?
Oh, who's like, who do you like better, Viscera or Reno?
Who's the shittiest?
They're not shit. Oh, what? Well, Viscera's not shitty. How dare you? I don't know Reno.
Former WCW Hardcore Champion Reno. Hello.
Yeah. Hello.
He's my favorite person.
Viscera's won the WWF Hardcore title at least once, right?
I think so.
Yeah, he was in those hardcore battle royals and stuff.
It?
Like he must have won it. Yeah.
Yeah, he must have. A big guy like him. How could he not win a prestigious championship like that?
Exactly, yeah.
Anyway, boy, that was fun. But in all seriousness, we're not talking about Viscera or Reno. I'm sorry, guys, but that show has been cancelled.
Yeah,
so,
the people who have tuned in to hear about Reno and Viscera are sorely disappointed right now.
I'm sorry, dudes, but hey, we'll get there eventually. Don't worry about it. Just keep listening to every show, and then maybe one of them will be about Viscera, so... Just listen to every show and you'll be all right, So that was a hell of an intro. Today's episode.
What the fuck was that?
I don't fucking know. Today's episode is about Shayna Baszler.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah. So I think the WWE at the moment have like a really, and this is a criticism that I think can be levied at them for a long time now, is that they have talented people, but their booking just isn't super good, right?
Yeah.
Their booking's all over the place.
Yeah. They've got the greatest roster of all time right now in regards to talent.
Incredible roster for both the men and the women, and yet they're booking lackluster at best sometimes, And so I thought Shayna Baszler, there's a girl who like fucking ruled NXT. You know what I mean? She was so good, and she looks like she's got a great look to her. She's a badass. She's legit because she does stuff. And she looks like it. Like she carries herself. She handles herself like a real methodical kind of killer. She knows what she's doing. She looks super cool. So you can see why she did so well in NXT, because she was able to show all that stuff off. And then when she went to the main roster, predictably, the wheels fell off, because they're like, well, what do we do?
Where have I heard that before? Yeah.
Exactly. This is the reason we do this show.
Yeah. We should be thanking WWE for like making a mockery of all these NXT talents,
And they do it a lot. So we got a lot of stuff to talk about. And I really like Shayna Baszler. I think she's great. And I really dislike Nia Jax because
she's not great.
because she's a terrible professional wrestler, right? and it was a shame to see Shayna Baszler being caught up in this weird Nia Jax storyline that doesn't make any sense.
Yeah.
So I thought, hey, why don't I do what we always do in this show? Talk shit about Reno for a bit, and then write a really good storyline. See, it all comes back. It all makes sense, man.
It does. It's actually funny that we actually, this obviously, but the listeners don't. Like, we actually put off recording this episode because I genuinely thought, I had a hunch that Shayna was going to win the Royal Rumble. It would have been weird to record this and say that Shayna is never given a chance in the main roster, and then she goes and wins the Rumble. But
yeah.
Unfortunately for her, and extremely fortunately for Making Kayfabe, she didn't even come close. So, we can record this episode. Yay!
Fortunately for us, WWE did what they always do. We got ourselves a new episode. Although, to be fair, Bianca Belair, man, she worked her ass off, dude.
Oh yeah, I'm not saying she doesn't deserve it at all. That was a good, that was a good choice for her to win it, and she got a hell of a promo afterwards as well. So she's a proper babyface. So yeah, that's good. Happy with her.
But wouldn't it have been cool if Shayna Baszler did win the Royal Rumble? Or wouldn't it be cool if some other cool stuff happened to Shayna Baszler instead of them just forgetting about it for 6 months and then making her a tag team with Nia Jax for no reason?
That would be cool. I wonder what that would be like.
That was really good.
Thank you.
Do you want me to tell you what it'd be like instead of having a dream about it? Because when you dream about it, the audience don't know what's going on.
That's right. That's how it works, right?
But yeah, I'll explain to everybody what Bryce is seeing in his dreams. I have that power. The Sandman. I think that's what he did. I don't know. Anyway, let's talk about Shayna Baszler.
Sandman's fucking caning folk. He doesn't see your dreams.
Yeah, we did him already.
Roll the episode. It's too much shite.
Let me give you a little bit of backstory, a little bit of history on Shayna Baszler to explain why we think she's a badass. Number one, she is. Right? But number two, I'll explain it. Before she started to train for MMA, she was already a brown belt in jiu-jitsu. So that's pretty good. That's more belts than I have. And she reached out to Josh Barnett for help on adding catch wrestling into her jiu-jitsu game. So he gave her a lot of advice. He kind of wrote stuff out for her and made videos for her to follow because she wasn't able to train and face to face with him. I think because they lived across the country, but he helped her out and really helped her with her charisma as well. Josh Barnett was the one that gave her the Queen of Spades nickname. Did you know that?
I didn't know that. No.
Do you want to know why she's called the Queen of Spades?
Yeah, I could even make a guess.
You could make a guess, and you'd be correct. It's because she's really good at magic card tricks. That is apparently what I found in research. That is why she's called the Queen of Spades.
No way.
That is apparently the reason. I was like, whoa, dude. That's awesome. And also, if you don't if she does a card trick and you don't applaud, she'll just beat the fuck out of you afterwards.
Are you rebooking Shayna Baszler as a badass magician?
Well, it's about time you had a badass magician in wrestling. Don't you agree? Phantasmo was 30 years ago. We need something else.
He wasn't even badass.
No, he was awful. I'd forgot all about that guy till right now.
Yeah, same.
But anyway, we'll do that in the next episode. So, Shayna Baszler began her MMA career in 2006 when she debuted for MFC, which is also the name of a Pearl Jam song. So, that's how I recognize that. It's funny, last week I was recognizing stuff by Pokemon, and now I recognize stuff by Pearl Jam titles.
It's a very Dylan thing, both of those things. So, yeah.
Oh, dear. Shayna Baszler has fought for many different MMA promotions, including Elite FC, Strikeforce, Invicta FC, and eventually the big boy, aka the only one anyone's ever heard of, UFC. After 2 fights in the UFC, though, she asked for her release so she could focus more on pro wrestling, and that was in 2015. So, she started in 2006. She was in UFC by the time she got to 2015. That's a hell of a career for a cage fighter.
Oh yeah.
They have a limited shelf life. So do wrestlers. So it's funny that she moved from one to the other one. But she wanted to focus on her wrestling career in 2015. From 2006 to 2015, she had 26 matches, 15 wins, 13 by submission. All right. The kid knows what she's doing, especially when it comes to submissions. Bear that in mind.
Her records don't come even close to that.
Oh, shit. Wow. I don't know what yours. UFC also included her in a show called The Ultimate Fighter, where Ronda Rousey picked Shayna Baszler to be on her team. All right. I don't know what The Ultimate Fighter is. Well, get this, right? Shayna Baszler was in Series 18 of The Ultimate Fighter. Series 18?
It's like Tough Enough, isn't it? It's like Tough Enough, but for obviously fighters.
There's been 28 seasons of this show.
Yeah, it's popular. What? That's where I believe that's where Conor McGregor and everyone else came from, really big names.
It's wild, man.
Yeah.
How many episodes have you seen?
Oh, none. But
none. Nobody watches the show. There's 28 seasons of nobody's seen it. Anyway, here's a fun fact. Ronda Rousey was the captain picking people for her team. So she picked Shayna Baszler, as we know. But one of the other coaches that were coaching alongside Ronda Rousey was Marina Shafir, who was one of the 4 horsewomen, alongside Jessamine Duke, Ronda Rousey, Shayna Baszler. So they all kind of met, in in that Ultimate Fighter thing, except for Jessamine Duke. I don't know how she came into it, but I thought that was interesting anyway. So Shayna made her in-ring debut in September 2015 for Quintessential Pro Wrestling, which is a hell of a name for a wrestling show. Although she kind of made some appearances at a Ring of Honor show before that in March. She walked Red Dragon to the ring, Kyle O'Reilly and Bobby Fish. So and she would fit in with those guys, that'd be super cool. She wrestled for various different independent wrestling promotions, including Shimmer and something called World Wonder Ring Stardom, which I suspect might be Japanese, until she eventually got picked up by the big boy, aka the only one anyone has ever heard of, the WWE, in 2017. Thank you.
Everyone's heard of Stardom. I'm assuming that's just Stardom. I didn't know if it was called like World Wild, whatever it is, but like Stardom's like the main promotion for women wrestlers, I believe.
Yeah. Well, this is World Wonder Ring Stardom. Please give it its full title. It worked hard to get that name.
Yeah.
To be fair, I love those kind of names from like Japanese promotions and stuff, where it's just all like whatever. We just opened the dictionary and came up with some English names. They do that a lot in Japan. They'll just pick English names because it just sounds funny. So Baszler entered the 2017 Mae Young Classic tournament. She beat wrestlers called Zeta, Mia Yim, who we are very familiar with as one of the Retribution boys.
Not Mace.
What was her name? Reckoning?
Reckoning, yes.
Was
Reckoning.
it?
Yeah, I think so.
Baszler beat Candice LeRae and Mercedes Martinez as well on their way to the final. So that's a pretty good list of people.
Yeah.
She made it to the final where she fought Pirate Princess Kairi Sane. Kairi Sane won, which is awesome. Shayna Baszler made her NXT debut December 2017, but beating up Kairi Sane. Oh my goodness, how could you do that? What a heel. So on January 10th, 2018, she made her in-ring debut, but beating Dakota Kai, who everybody loves. Boy, she's a real heel. Immediately she went into a feud with Ember Moon, who was the NXT Women's Champion. Shayna Baszler eventually winning that championship in 2018 in April. She lost the belt to Kairi Sane in August, but regained it in October at the Evolution pay-per-view. And from there, she held the belt for 416 days, losing it to Rhea Ripley on December 18th, 2019 episode of NXT. So that's pretty good, right? All things considered in NXT. She seems like they booked her pretty well.
I remember that. I watched NXT quite frequently at that time, and she was booked really well. She was a total badass.
Mm-hmm. She was so cool, and her matches all look legit. Great stuff. Mm-hmm. And as we know, whenever you move from NXT to the main roster, everything goes great. You're fine. Everything's ask me I am.
ask anybody. Ask the Ascension. Ask the Vaudevillains. Ask Ty Dillinger. Just countless success stories from people who go from NXT to the main roster.
Yeah. EC3.
Oh yeah, big success. Yeah, we covered him.
So successful, we had to rebook his entire WWE career. Oh dear. So let me tell you about some more up-to-date stuff from Shayna Baszler. Last year, 2020, she was in the Women's Royal Rumble. In the 30th spot, she eliminated 8 people. She made it to the last 2. She was eliminated by Charlotte Flair. She debuted on February 10th, 2020 on Raw, beating up Becky Lynch. So we can see where this is going. At Elimination Chamber, there was a female Elimination Chamber. Shayna Baszler was in it. And whoever wins that gets a title shot at Becky Lynch at WrestleMania. Just like the Royal Rumble, but not the Royal Rumble. Shayna Baszler eliminated everybody else. She beat everybody in the chamber single-handedly.
Wow.
Fucking right after a great start. This is great. How could they possibly screw this up? So she loses to Becky Lynch at WrestleMania, but that wasn't right. No. Like Becky Lynch has been a really dominant champion. Plus, it was like I think it was like a roll-up or something like that. So like Shayna Baszler, it was one of those quick falls where it felt like, all right, there's a rematch coming. This is gonna be fucking sweet. Here we go. This is gonna be really good. Then Shayna Baszler qualified for the Money in the Bank. I don't want to call it a match. I don't know if you've seen it, but it was something else.
Is that the one inside the Stamford or whatever it was, yeah?
Yes, where they had to go to the top of the building.
I actually enjoyed those matches quite a lot. It's just, again, I think that's where we differ on our kind of opinions about wrestling, but I love that wacky kind of shit.
I'll say that I thought there were parts in the match that I did enjoy. Anyway, she qualified for that, but she didn't win it. Asuka won that, and so what happened was Becky Lynch came out the next night on Raw and handed over the Raw Women's Championship to Asuka for winning the Money in the Bank match, so she could go off and have a child because she was pregnant, which pretty much put a full stop on the end of that Shayna Baszler Becky Lynch thing. And then since then, instead of like capitalizing on that momentum that they had with Shayna Baszler, they were like, "Fuck it, we'll let her do nothing for a while," till she randomly teams up with Nia Jax to beat Sasha Banks and Bayley for the Women's Tag Team Championships at Payback. So then after that, Nia and Shayna Baszler just kept beating up Lana. They put her through a table like 8 times in a row.
Oh, jeez, I remember this. Yeah.
I'm like, does it really take both of you guys to beat up Lana? Like, who's getting over with this, right? I
Lana,
get the idea.
getting over as a babyface, right? Everyone loves that, right?
I get the idea that they're trying to do that sympathetic babyface thing. But I tell you what, dude, putting this frail lady through a table 8 times, that's not a way. Because now, if anybody else goes through a table, you're like, well, Lana went through it 8 times.
Yeah, I think realistically, you should have done it at least 10 times to make it really sink in.
Yeah, because you got to double down with shit like that. Nia and Shayna Baszler lost the belts to Asuka and Charlotte Flair, but then they won them back at Royal Rumble. And that's pretty much it. That's Shayna Baszler on the main roster. Started off hot.
That's current day, yeah.
Started off hot. Did not end the way that... Well, it's not over yet, obviously, but like hasn't gone the way I would have thought it would, you know?
So, I like... I enjoy how you said, like, oh, she won the Elimination Chamber and all of that, and then she, you know, how could it possibly go wrong from here? And then just in the background, you hear, you know, I'm not like most girls. That's exactly how it can go wrong.
Oh, seriously, dude. I mean, Nia Jax, not good. But anyway,
we could talk for hours about Nia Jax, yeah.
And yeah, that's a whole other podcast. But how about you listen to my story about how I rebooked Shayna Baszler?
I want to know exactly how you'd rebook Shayna Baszler.
Well, let me tell you, this will be a surprise to you, given what we just mentioned. But first off, no tag team with Nia Jax.
Great, I love it already.
In all future Making Kayfabe bookings, Nia Jax does not exist. And therefore, will never be
She's not a part of anything.
Will never be involved in any storylines because she doesn't exist. She's not gonna hear her name again in the rest of this. That's the end of it. I'm done.
If we do accidentally mention her, I'll bleep it out in the podcast.
Yeah, replace it with Hardcore Holly. I don't know why. I just thought that'd be really funny. Hardcore Holly hit this really sloppy looking powerbomb through the table on Lana. You're like, what?
Hey, do you remember when Shayna Baszler won the Women's Tag Team Championships with Hardcore Holly?
Hardcore Holly. I do. Oh boy, that's the next rebooking.
Yes.
Somebody, Bryce, next week, somebody in a Kayfabe Tombola is going
that's for sure. Yeah.
Wins the tag team championships with Hardcore Holly. Oh dear. Anyway, we'll cross that bridge when we get to it. So, like I said earlier, I thought the WWE started off really well. I thought the Royal Rumble stuff was good. The Elimination Chamber stuff was good. Even the WrestleMania stuff was good because it made sense and it seemed like it was teasing to go somewhere, you know? So I'm not too worried about that. But also in real life, they had to contend with COVID. They had to contend with Becky Lynch being pregnant and all this stuff, right? So I'm going to take all that into consideration, all right?
Sure.
I still think you can make a really good case for Shayna Baszler with all of those roadblocks in place. You know, that's fine. Sure. So I'm pretty confident I can pull out a good story. So
where are you? Where you start? Are you starting from the Elimination Chamber?
I'm starting after WrestleMania.
Okay, cool.
So Becky
WrestleMania
Lynch.
2020.
Yes, Becky Lynch
right.
and Shayna Baszler has happened at WrestleMania. Becky Lynch won. Okay, that's history. So we're coming up to Money in the Bank. Shayna Baszler doesn't want to participate in the Money in the Bank match because she thinks she still owed a title shot. Like she didn't really lose to Becky Lynch at WrestleMania. She's confident that she doesn't even need the Money in the Bank briefcase because she can kind of just take a title match whenever she wants, right? Mm. So we're going to have some other women in the Money in the Bank match. Asuka, Dana Brooke, Carmella, Lacey Evans, Naomi, and Natalya. What we're going to do right before Money in the Bank, Shayna Baszler is still forced into a qualifying match for the Money in the Bank. She fights Natalya. She wins the match with her Kirifuda clutch submission, but she refuses to release the hold, Ken Shamrock style. Remember that gimmick?
Oh, yeah.
So the referee reverses a decision. Natalya wins. Therefore, she goes to Money in the Bank, and Shayna Baszler doesn't. Shayna Baszler couldn't give a shit, because she's like, look what I did. I just choked out one of the members of this stupid match. You guys have to jump through hoops to get a treat, whereas she's the big dog in charge, and it's very obvious. She doesn't need to compete in that match, but they do. She's the man, not Becky Lynch. So she demands a rematch with Becky Lynch. So she's kind of sitting the Money in the Bank match out. That happens the way it does. Asuka wins the case like she does in real life. The next night on Raw, Becky Lynch gives Asuka the championship, announces her pregnancy and her hiatus from wrestling. Fair enough. So backstage, Shayna Baszler is really fucking annoyed, right? She's angry as hell. She's throwing stuff about. That's not fair. Becky Lynch can't retire. They haven't had the rematch yet. So she's pissed off that Becky Lynch is like running away with her tail between her legs, just giving up, So this is next week on Raw. Shayna Baszler comes out and just cuts a promo on Lynch about how she's a coward and she's running away. She knew that Shayna Baszler was coming after her because of the way the WrestleMania match went. And Becky Lynch could see the only thing she could do to escape another beating at the hands of Shayna Baszler is to give the championship up and run away. And that's just not fair. Shayna Baszler wants two things. She wants to beat Becky Lynch in front of everybody, and she wants to be the World Heavyweight Women's Champion of WWE. And that's it. Those are the two things. So she can wait for Becky Lynch to come back, because we all know she will, but she wants the championship right now, so she's calling out Asuka. Instead of Asuka coming out, she gets Natalya. Natalya comes out and says that she's not happy about how their Money in the Bank qualifying match went. She wants a piece of Shayna Baszler. Baszler tells her to bring it on, so they start brawling. The next week, Shayna Baszler's still hot. She's still trying to get, she's attacking anybody who comes near her. After a while, she starts to get threatened by the officials about being suspended if she doesn't cool it off. But Shayna Baszler makes it clear that she wants some respect around here. And she's like, all right, I'll cool off. She starts to kind of retreat to go back to her car. Natalya jumps her in the parking lot, so you start having another brawl. The next week on Raw, Natalya isn't there. She was also told to kind of cool it. And so she took the week off. But Shayna Baszler thinks, that this is all me. This is the reason. So she's bragging that once again, it's a case of somebody being too afraid to fight her. They're taking the week off. Shayna has a match that night against some local enhancement talent, shall we say, who, Shayna Baszler puts away easily. After the match, Shayna Baszler locks that poor girl into the sharpshooter. And is like, what do you think of this, Natalya? Really, really setting it through. So Natalya comes back. Shayna Baszler's there. They're both angry at each other. They decide, we're going to have a match. How do you solve a problem in wrestling? Have a wrestling match. You would think it's simple. So we have a match set up at Backlash, Natalya versus Shayna Baszler, and it's a submission match because Shayna Baszler knows Kirifuda clutch, Natalya with her sharpshooter. Makes sense, right?
Makes sense. Yeah, makes perfect sense.
Funny enough, they did this in real life, but they pissed it away on an episode of Raw. The fuck, man. Look at submission match between Shayna Baszler and Natalya. Pissed it away on Raw. Can you believe that?
That's pay-per-view quality, yeah.
So it's a pretty back and forth match, as you would imagine, because Natalya's no slouch, Baszler sometimes is trying to lock in the sharpshooter just to really annoy Natalya, but of course she doesn't know how to do it correctly. She's not a heart, and Natalya knows how to counter her own moves, so she's like getting out of the sharpshooter is no problem. Unfortunately for her, it's just not enough. Shayna Baszler is just too tough, locks in her Kirifuda clutch, and she wins the submission match. So that's Backlash. Now we're back on Raw. And once again, Shayna Baszler wants what is rightfully hers, which is the Women's Championship. What does she have to do to get that championship match? She dominated in the Royal Rumble. She's beaten Sarah Logan, Ruby Riott, Liv Morgan, Natalya, and current Women's Champion Asuka in one night at Elimination Chamber. She ran off Becky Lynch. She's proven that she's a master of submissions at Backlash. What else does she have to do? People say that she's in no place to be so demanding, but really she's in exactly the right place to be making demands because she's been the most dominant woman, probably the most dominant person on the whole roster in the last 6 months. Statistics, they are what they are. So she's calling out Asuka once again. And the music hits, and who do you think comes out right now?
Asuka.
That's right, Charlotte Flair. We haven't talked about Charlotte Flair at all in this. What the hell? You know, can't let a lady
Yeah.
like Charlotte Flair go unnoticed. Charlotte Flair comes out recently around this time. This is when she was the NXT Women's Championship. Oh, she won the Women's Championship at WrestleMania. So this is the Raw after Backlash. She has just lost her championship in real life on June 7th at the TakeOver show. So this is like in the middle of June now. Charlotte Flair comes out and says that Shayna might think she's a big deal, but she's never beaten Charlotte Flair. There's one thing Flairs do. They win. You know, they always win. And ironically enough, Charlotte Flair had just lost the NXT Women's Championship to Io Shirai.
Also, David Flair didn't win a whole lot, did he?
Well, he won her hearts. That is a lie. He did not. He did not.
He didn't win my heart.
He was terrible. We should do a watch along where you and me just watch David Flair, because it's not good.
We absolutely should not.
It's terrible. I have watched it, so you don't have to, dude. Do not do it. So Charlotte Flair basically is missing having gold around her waist. It's been too long. So she wants Asuka. She doesn't want to have to wait around for Shayna Baszler. No. Charlotte Flair skips the line because she's Charlotte Flair.
Yeah.
Shayna Baszler is not at all fazed at Charlotte Flair. She starts to laugh. Here's another wrestling family trying to muscle her around. First it was the Harts with Natalya. Now it's the Flairs. Who's next? The Renos? The famous wrestling family, Reno. Doesn't even matter. The figure four leg lock never beat anybody important, but the Kirifuda clutch has put down everybody that has stood in front of Shayna Baszler. But then Charlotte says that Rhea Ripley beat Shayna Baszler for the NXT title, and then Charlotte beat Rhea Ripley, so that makes Charlotte better than Shayna Baszler, right? Think about it.
That's how it works.
Yeah. So Shayna Baszler says, if that's what you think, Charlotte, why don't you come down in the ring and say it right to my face? But Charlotte says she doesn't need to, because she's a Flair. She's like, I ain't getting on the ring. What do you think? I'm an idiot? She walks away. The next few weeks, it's them trying to get back at each other. Shayna's trying to get back at Charlotte, trying to attack her and like goad her into a match, which is what Charlotte was expecting. So she kind of keeps her distance. Shayna makes it clear that she wants Charlotte. She wants her as soon as possible so they can put this business behind them and move on, right? Shayna wants that championship. And if Charlotte's going to be in her way, then she's like, I got to take out Charlotte immediately. Let's do that. Charlotte is the same way. Charlotte's like, I want that championship. I don't want to have to fight Shayna Baszler to get there, you know? So a match eventually is set up for Extreme Rules between Charlotte Flair and Shayna Baszler. Big money match right now, right? So once again, Shayna Baszler finds herself in a pretty, it's a fight. Charlotte Flair really brings it. She knows what she's doing. Former zillion-time champion, But once again, Shayna manages to slip through and manages to win, After the match, just to really make a point, she attacks Charlotte in a post-match beatdown to like really send a message to people. Like, look what I'm doing to Charlotte. Yeah. Charlotte Flair. If I'm going to do it to this wrestling royalty, I'll do it to any fucks. Really, it's also to write Charlotte off TV, because in real life, just after June in 2020, Charlotte took some time off to get some surgery. Ooh. So this is me writing her off for real. But to do it, she's given Shayna Baszler a rub. You see?
Makes sense.
All makes sense. So now Shayna Baszler says there's nobody else stopping her. Who's left? She's beaten everybody on Raw, some of them multiple times, and she wants her title shot. What else she's got to do? So Asuka comes out. She's not afraid of Shayna Baszler, but she remembers what Shayna did to Kairi Sane back in NXT, and she's not happy about that because Asuka, Kairi Sane were kind of buddy last year until Kairi left to go back to Japan, right? Remember this?
Kabuki Warriors.
Yeah. You love the Kabuki Warriors. So,
oh yeah.
Since Kairi Sane went back to Japan in 2020, that's all in the storyline too. Shayna Baszler, obviously, to get back at Asuka, she beats the heck out of Kairi Sane, much like she did with Charlotte Flair. Again, to write Kairi Sane off TV for real so she can go off to Japan, and to give a rub to Shayna Baszler, because now she can say, I'm the reason Kairi Sane is in Japan.
Yeah.
She doesn't want to stay here. She's afraid of me. She knows her wrestling career is done because of me. I retired her. That's it. So now that she's done exactly what she wanted, she's got Asuka's attention. And Asuka's like, all right, that's it. The match is on. SummerSlam 2020. You've got the almost undefeated Shayna Baszler. She's only lost to Becky Lynch. She's beaten everybody else. And Becky Lynch isn't even around. So she's basically undefeated. You go up against the current Raw Women's Champion, Asuka, tough as nails, She's a real scrapper. perfect like women's main event at SummerSlam. We have this match once again. Shayna is kind of put to the limit. She doesn't expect the fighters on the Raw roster to put up such a fight, but she's taken by surprise at the end of the match by Asuka, who manages to slip through, and she beats Shayna Baszler. Okay, which might not sound right, but in storyline, it's a way for Asuka to get revenge for Kairi Sane, which makes sense. Okay. Asuka has been like this dominant champion all year, really. So this is kind of like par for the course. So like, well, that makes sense.
Yeah.
And again, it's much like WrestleMania. Shayna Baszler has been built up in between these losses to make it like one or two of them will catch people by surprise. So you're like, oh, wow, cool. Asuka's still champion. Wow, I can't believe Shayna Baszler didn't win it. It's all part of the process. So Shayna, she can't believe it. Absolute bullshit. How could Asuka have beaten her? That's not the way things are supposed to happen. Shayna won't stand for it. Asuka wants to move on. She doesn't see the point in defending against Shayna again. She wants a new challenge. But Shayna is dogged and determined. She's going to prove that she deserves the title shot, and she'll beat any woman on the roster in a number one contendership match. Line them up and she'll beat them. Right? Doesn't matter. The Iconics see this and they're like, oh, well, we'll have a go. But well, only if it's a handicap match and only if both of us get the title shot. And Shayna's like, fucking bring it on. What are you going to do about it? I'll take you both on. So obviously, before the match, which is good, it's still on an episode of Raw, this one, but it's number one contendership match to see who's going to go on to the next show. I think it's called Payback in September. So this is going to see who goes on to Payback to fight Asuka. Obviously, Shayna Baszler beats up Peyton Royce backstage before the match to make it even easier for her. And so, puts more heel heat on her too. So she wins that handicap match easily. And she's coming for Asuka. So now Payback in September, we have the rematch, Asuka versus Shayna Baszler 2, and both of them are like they've stepped it up a gear since SummerSlam. They're really like pushing each other to the limit. But this time, Shayna Baszler walks out of there with the win and with the championship. So Shayna Baszler is your new Raw Women's Champion. Next week on Raw, she comes out and tells everybody that she is the World Heavyweight Women's Champion. No other championship compares to the one she's wearing because she's wearing it and she's the best, right? This is kind of done in order to set up a match at Survivor Series in a couple of months' time because they do that they do the Raw versus SmackDown bullshit. So at Survivor Series, they're going to get Bayley, the SmackDown Women's Champion, against Shayna Baszler, Raw Women's Champion. So that's kind of trash talk to set that up. But that's in October. No, that's in November. So we still need to get through October, which is at Clash of Champions. So, it doesn't really matter who Shayna Baszler beats at Clash of Champions. It could be anybody. She fights Bayley at Survivor Series. Could fight Hardcore Holly. He needs something to do. Yeah. Poor guy. So, so she beats Hardcore Holly at Clash of Champions. fights Bayley at Survivor Series and wins. And then she defends her title in an actual TLC match at the TLC pay-per-view.
Nice.
She's a badass, right? She's like, bring them all. I'll do it like Survivor, or I'll do it like Elimination Chamber. 5 other women in the match. I'll still win it, which she does, because she's a badass. Nobody can take the belt away from her. So now we're getting into 2021. All right. The last couple of months of 2020, Shayna Baszler's been on top. Getting into 2021, very recent times, I think you'll find. And she very brazenly declares that she is going to be in the women's 2021 Royal Rumble because she wants to go on to WrestleMania to unify the women's championships with her as the undisputed World Heavyweight Women's Champion of WWE. All right? Nice. From here, you've got a lot of options. So that's my storytelling of the Shayna Baszler story up until this very point. Okay? That's been the storyline. Now, I think having her in the Royal Rumble like that opens up to like a ton of possibilities. So I'm going to lay some of them out now. It means that you could have Asuka win the Royal Rumble to get Asuka versus Shayna Baszler 3, the blow-off match, the third one at WrestleMania. You've already set that up in the rest of the year, so that could totally work. You could have Becky Lynch come back and win the Rumble or win something at like Elimination Chamber to set up the rematch from last year, Becky Lynch versus Shayna Baszler. It all makes sense because Shayna Baszler has looked hot the entire year and Becky Lynch has been away. That all works. You could have Ronda Rousey come back and win the Royal Rumble, setting up Ronda Rousey versus Shayna Baszler, which I would be all over. That would fucking rip, dude. You could even have Shayna Baszler win the Royal Rumble like she promised and go on to WrestleMania to unify the both belts. I mean, you could say she wants to unify the both belts. That doesn't mean she will. That could just be the selling point. But I'm like, just by keeping Shayna Baszler strong like that, now you've got options for like WrestleMania. You've got options for the Royal Rumble. You've got a main event women's star in Shayna Baszler. You've got all the people who can go up against her. Like, it's so simple. And I didn't break. I didn't go out of my way to like make it all crazy. Nobody died. Nobody teleported. Nobody drowned in a swamp. None of this like bullshit. It's just simple wrestling storytelling that builds up one girl, and as a consequence, opens up the future for a lot of storylines going forward. Right?
Yeah.
Simple. Why the fuck don't they do this shit? That's how you book Shayna Baszler.
I like it, man. It's Shayna's she's such a strong character, and like she really needs that kind of good booking, or not even like she doesn't need like the best book storyline in the world. She just needs she can carry herself, and kind of even the most average storylines. But like I like what you've done with her there, and she takes out. I like how she goes through the wrestling families, like she goes through the Hart family, then she goes through the Flair family. In regards to what you were saying about her and Charlotte Flair, and how Charlotte wants nothing to do with Shayna, but Shayna's some people would just maybe let that lie. Okay, Charlotte doesn't want to fight me, so I'll just move on to something else. But like Shayna is actually chasing Charlotte. She's actively showing dominance. She's not waiting for someone else to do it. She wants to take out Charlotte, and I love that, man.
Right, because like that's the hook. Like she knows that. Because everybody knows if you leave a Flair around TV for too long, they're going to end up back in the title picture, right?
Yeah.
So if Shayna Baszler wants a shot at Asuka, she's got to get rid of Charlotte Flair. Charlotte Flair will take that title shot, no problem,
Yeah. And then you wrote off Charlotte perfectly as well, because like you say, it's again, we say this all the time, but we try to bring real life into it. And in real life, Charlotte did go away for a while. And also Kairi Sane, again, she was written off by Shayna Baszler, and she went away for a while. She went back to Japan. She's not come back yet. So I like that. And then I like how you had actually Asuka beating Shayna for the first time, in the first match, because then, like, again, you can't just have Shayna win. It's
yes.
Too easy, too boring. Basically, you've got to add something else to it. So, and then Shayna does defeat Asuka, but that makes it better, because there's more impact that time because she lost the first time. And then I really like where you left it as well with the unifying the titles, the potential of unifying the titles, or Shayna winning the Rumble to go to WrestleMania to face whoever the SmackDown Women's Champion is. From the things that you kind of suggested there of where to go next, I would probably go down the Asuka route. It makes sense to have the blow-off match, the third match, especially having it at WrestleMania, make the most sense. But
then again, that's totally true. But there's still options for it suddenly makes the Royal Rumble look wide open, because then you're like, well, Asuka could win it, but then Becky Lynch makes sense. And then even if Charlotte Flair came back and won the Rumble, that would set up Charlotte versus Shayna Baszler too. That works, but it only works because you build up Shayna Baszler to begin with, and which is shit they don't know how to do, I guess.
Yeah, man, it's just so I never understood it. They haven't built her up, because she is if you're a non-wrestling fan and you watch wrestling for the first time, you see Shayna Baszler, you're going to think that's a fucking badass, because how she carries herself and how she, how she acts, her charisma, all that, it's that tells you she's a badass. And you compare her to, I don't know who, but compare to Lana, for example, or fucking Hardcore Holly. he's a hell of a woman. But no, you can you compare it to looking at Lana, Lana's got a good look, but I couldn't imagine Lana kicking anyone's ass, Whereas I look at Shayna and it's fucking hell, she'd kick anyone's ass, So it shouldn't be so hard to get Shayna over. She's got everything you need. She's got that unique look. She's got that legit background. She's got, she can put on a match as well. She's not the greatest wrestler in the world, but she puts on, she knows plenty of MMA stuff, which kind of makes it look real. In a similar fashion to, Lesnar or Rousey or whoever, So, Barnett. So, but yeah, it's just a fucking shame that they've not done anything with her. But that's a good rebook in there. I like that a lot.
Well, that was the thing. Originally when I started doing this, I'm I know exactly what the finish to this storyline is going to be. It's going to be Shayna Baszler versus Ronda Rousey, WrestleMania 2021, right? That's the story. But as I was writing it, I'm like, there's so many other ways you could go with this.
Yeah.
Because by the time I got to Royal Rumble, I'm like, would people rather watch that over the third Asuka Shayna Baszler match or against Becky Lynch? Or, you know what I mean? Like, it just turned into an option.
That's it. Again, doing the Ronda Rousey thing could work as well, because that could again help build Shayna, especially if she beats Ronda Rousey, you know. So, that's another option.
Exactly, but that's exactly what you do. You'd have if Ronda Rousey's going to be a part timer, use her like Brock Lesnar, have her turn up, beat up a load of people, and then lose to the people you want to get over.
Yeah,
simple. And then she works 5 days a year and then goes home. The Lesnar Goldberg contract. You get the most use out of these people. What are we the idiots? Are we the only ones who can see this?
I think we are.
What the fuck?
We must be, because they're making fucking billions of dollars. So yeah.
Speaking of us being idiots, would you like to play a game of Kayfabe Tombola?
Yes, I would. I absolutely would.
That's probably 3 seasons in, probably the best segue I've done ever.
It's the most honest one, I think. Yeah.
Speaking of hardcore Holly, how about a Kayfabe Tombola?
A bit of hardcore tombola. Yeah.
Kayfabe Holly. That sounds weird. That sounds really weird.
That's like got Kayfabe Holly coming down to the ring. Yeah.
Okay. Well, hey, what's my new wrestling name? Anyway. This Kayfabe Tombola was actually sent in by one of our lovely Twitter followers. Thank you very much. Jesse Moore at Sega_legend. I assume he's Jesse. A Sega legend.
Yeah, love Sega. I love Sega, Mega Drive, yeah. Sonic.
Yeah. Oh, dude, Sonic 2.
Mortal Kombat, yeah.
Mortal Kombat, man.
James Bond.
You had James Bond?
I had James Bond. That's one of the first games I ever played, yeah.
I had Columns. Remember Columns?
I don't remember.
I think Columns was on like a 6-in-1 game. Like six games for one. You're like, thanks, man. Thanks for Columns.
Tetris, yeah.
Anyway, Sega Legend on Twitter, Jesse Moore has sent this tombola. So thank you very much, sir. We really appreciate it. And that means good news for Bryce, because he doesn't have to put up with any of my bullshit for a week.
Yeah, I'm so happy.
So now you're gonna put up with somebody else's bullshit.
Yay.
I hope you're happy with that. Let me explain Kayfabe Tombola for anybody out there who's listening to this for the first time. First of all, shame on you. Go listen to the other ones. And second of all, let me explain to everybody what Kayfabe Tombola is. We're going to play a little game. Whoever is not doing the main storyline on a show gets to play the little game. So it's going to be you this week, Bryce. I'm sorry, because I've read them. There's going to be some scenarios and some wrestlers, 1 to 4 and A to D. Bryce is going to select a letter number combination, and he's going to have 1 minute to come up with a storyline based on the wrestler and the scenario he has chosen. Simple. What could go wrong?
So many things.
So, Bryce, would you like to make a letter and a number combination for me?
I would love
we'll
to.
See what you've got.
This week I'm going to go for 4. Number 4. I'm going to go for the letter B for Bertie. For Bryce, even, you might say.
Well, let me tell you what you didn't get.
Okay.
Let me show you what your consolation prizes are. You didn't get Evil Uno.
Oh, I love Evil Uno.
Well, you didn't get him.
Oh.
Yeah, you think you love Evil Uno. I think you might like this next guy. You didn't get Cactus Jack.
Oh, he'd have been a good one. He'd be a good, great Kayfabe Tombola. So many things you can do.
Cactus Jack.
No Cactus
Sorry,
Jack.
buddy. You're going to have to wait till next week. Till Sega Legend sends another one in next week.
Yeah.
You didn't get Peter Avalon.
Meh.
No, not as good as Cactus Jack.
No.
There's your Twitter poll. Who's better? Hardcore legend, multiple time world heavyweight champion, Cactus Jack. King of the Death Match, 1997, Cactus Jack. Or
against
Peter Avalon. Who doesn't even get like the big build up before his name. It's just Peter Avalon. I'm sure he's good. I'm not slagging that dude off. I'm not. Anyway, you didn't pick him. Let me tell you who you did pick. Somebody who will excite you just as much as Evil Uno or Cactus Jack. You got motherfucking Steve Blackman.
Oh, yes.
Yes, you fucking
brilliant.
did. Steve Blackman, one of our
Yes.
personal favorites. I mean,
There's a fucking rebooking right there. Steve Blackman.
We have talked about Steve Blackman many a time, about how that guy fucking rips. So, Bryce, you're going to have to do a really good storyline.
Yeah.
But I'm
actually a little bit nervous now because I love Steve Blackman. I don't want to fuck this up.
Well, what storyline have you got to give to Steve Blackman? Let me tell you what you didn't get, okay? Let me tell you what you didn't get. You didn't get gives birth to a hand.
Are you fuck?
Yeah. I mean, it's already been done.
Yeah. By Steve Blackman, right?
Yeah. Yeah, Steve Blackman did it. I was hardcore Holly. He's a hell of a woman.
He is a hell of a woman.
You didn't get... This is my personal favorite. I wish you got this. But you didn't get... He keeps getting attacked by bees that nobody else can see.
That no one can see?
Nobody can see the bees. He's just getting attacked by lots of invisible bees.
So it's like hallucinating kind of thing?
No, he's really getting stung by bees, but they're...
It's actual invisible bees, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm like, how do you even write a story? Like, that's the storyline.
That is the storyline. I could work that. Unfortunately, I can't get it this week.
You didn't get it. And you didn't get getting lost in a parking lot.
Okay.
Parking garage, I believe they call it. Which I think is the plot of a Seinfeld episode.
Okay.
So, dude, next time I'm doing this, I'm just going to make all of my scenarios the plots from Seinfeld episodes. So I don't think you've seen Seinfeld.
I haven't actually, no. Like,
there you go. That's
I have actually thought a few times of using like Simpsons references, and then like, Steve Blackman becomes Mr. Plow, or like, Steve Blackman goes to Vegas with Ned Flanders and gets married.
Specifically with Ned Flanders.
Yeah, with Ned Flanders, yeah.
He has to go with Ned and nobody else. Steve Blackman and Ned Flanders in a car going to Las Vegas. Well, you didn't get that. You didn't get any of that. You especially didn't get the Las Vegas one. Here's what your Kayfabe Nabola is this week, my friend. You got to give me 1 minute to tell me how Steve Blackman starts an OnlyFans page.
Oh, God.
That's all it says. He just starts an OnlyFans page. But here's the thing. Back in whenever OnlyFans started, it was really kind of only for like porn stars and stuff. And at some point, I think like over the pandemic, other people started using OnlyFans for other things, kind of like a Patreon. So like if you subscribe to their channel, you get bonus pictures and bonus, whatever. So it kind of like, so you could go down the porn route. You don't have to. You could go down some other kind of route. The door it's wide open. Steve Blackman's door is wide open on his OnlyFans. Let me tell you. that was a good joke, sons of bitches. That was a really good joke. Anyway, Bryce, you have 1 minute. Are you ready? You want a second?
Is this going to be Steve Blackman, like, he creates the OnlyFans in current day because OnlyFans is around in current day? Or is it going to be Steve Blackman back in, like, 1999, 2000 creating an OnlyFans page?
I'm gonna say dealer's choice. I think you're gonna have it's your storyline. You can do with it what you will. You can interpret that as whatever you want. It starts in OnlyFans. You can interpret that whatever way you want. You know what I mean?
Okay. Yeah, we can do that. Bring it. Let's do it.
Okay, so I'm gonna count you down from 3, and then I'm gonna press start. And you're gonna have 1 minute to tell the world about Steve Blackman starting an OnlyFans page. Are you ready?
Yes.
Excellent. That's the kind of enthusiasm I was excited for. So I'm gonna count you down. 3, 2, 1. Storyline this bitch.
All right, so Steve Blackman's going to start an OnlyFans, and we're going to call it, because it actually rhymes, this is perfect, we're going to call it Only Blackmans. But it's not going to be Only Blackmans, it's going to be Steve Blackman. So let's just get that there right now. But you know how you said earlier how it's not just porn on these sites now, it's actually other things. So Steve Blackman's actually going to give away martial arts training on this app. Okay. So if you pay a good subscription fee, you get to get personalized lessons from Steve Blackman, how to boost your martial arts with nunchucks and all that shit. Anyway, there's this young guy called Peter Avalon in AEW who's losing a lot of matches, and he's thinking like, I need something to help me get ahead here. I need something to change up my game because I'm losing every week and all that. So Peter Avalon subscribes, and it gets all these martial arts training courses from Steve Blackman, and like give it a few months, give it 3 or 4 months, Peter Avalon's going to be like just fucking Karate Kid. He's going to be like the greatest like martial arts person in the world. He's going to come down to the ring with his new nunchucks, and he's going to eventually
That's it.
Yeah, he's going to win the world title. Yeah.
He's gonna win the world title. He's gonna learn karate from Steve Blackman through an OnlyFans page and win the world title.
Yeah, man, it's straightforward booking.
I like how you worked Peter Avalon in there too.
Yeah, it's like who could benefit from Steve Blackman's martial arts training? And he was already recently said, so why not? But like that's actually, I think that's the second time in 2 weeks where I've said where the timer goes off and I'm like, just fucking wins the world title or something. Just fuck it.
Right, it's the easiest way to solve the problem. Like just fucking. I mean, it worked for David Arquette.
It did indeed.
Worked for Vince Russo.
It did indeed.
Worked for Vince McMahon.
It did indeed.
Twice? He was the world champion, but he's also ECW world champion.
Oh, right. I do rag Vince, yeah.
Yeah.
Here's a rebooking. Do rag Vince.
Do what I would have done, though. I would have done Vince McMahon versus Kurt Angle whenever Kurt Angle was doing the wig thing.
Right.
Remember, Edge shaved his head off at WrestleMania?
Yeah. And
so
he had the little the wrestling cap kind of thing.
With like a little wig on it. So I'm like, easy. Bald Vince versus bald Kurt. Although I guess Kurt's still bald these days, but... Take
my money.
Yeah. That one's a work in and then you give him the world title, whatever the fuck.
Did you hear speaking of like Vince versus Kurt, did you hear the story about like I think it's the flight of what was it called? The Flight of Doom or something, like, but flight from hell or something, but like apparently Vince McMahon was like on that flight, he was just constantly trying to surprise Kurt Angle and take him down. And amateur
Kurt Angle down,
and like, you can't do that to Kurt Angle. He's a fucking like literally a gold medalist. Like, you're not going to be able to take Kurt Angle from any fucking angle.
I think that's why Vince was doing it though, because Angle was such like he's a real shooter, like legit. So Vince McMahon's like, take you on, pal. Watch this, like.
You're not so tough, yeah. What that led to was, Vince McMahon trying to take Kurt Angle down, and then Kurt Angle taking Vince McMahon down, almost like having him on the ground, like on top of him. And that woke The Undertaker up, who choked Kurt Angle out from behind, or so I'm told. So, yeah.
Yeah, because he just saw Kurt Angle choking out the boss, and he's like, uh-oh.
not on my watch.
Gotta put a stop to that. And then he just went back to sleep. That's what I heard.
Yeah. He just wake up, choke a guy out, go back to sleep. That's how I roll.
It was that kind of plane ride. Anyway, that's the show. Thank you very much, Bryce, for that lovely Kayfabe Tombola. And let me say thank you to Jesse Moore as well for sending that one in at Sega Legend.
Here's Jesse.
Yeah, dude, appreciate it. So if you want to do the same as Jesse, if you want to be as cool as the Sega Legend on Twitter, I mean, that's hard because he's the Sega Legend. But if you want to be just as cool as him, you can send tombolas into us as well. We're on Twitter at Making Kayfabe, and we're also, if you want to send us your Kayfabe tombolas via Gmail, you can do that, makingkayfabe@gmail.com. We look forward to hearing back from you guys. Really appreciate it. It's really cool to see you guys giving us your tombolas as well. We try to read them out in the show, and it's really cool. It's really sweet. We really appreciate it. If you are listening to this on any kind of podcast device, we really appreciate like a little 5-star review or something like that, because that helps the show get some more people to listen to it, and that way we can entertain even more people, and more people get to listen to our wonderful tales about Reno and Viscera. And the world deserves that, people. We need to give the people what they want. So we really appreciate little 5-star reviews or like thumbs up on YouTube and stuff like that. It really, really helps us out. And also, never forget that we've got some merchandise available on our Redbubble page. Bryce, do you have the little...
It's makingkayfabe.redbubble.com. You can get your Making Kayfabe official t-shirt designed by our good friend Tyler at makingkayfabe.redbubble.com.
How about that? Excitement all around. So there's good stuff all over the internet involving Making Kayfabe, and those are the places to go and find them. Check us out on Twitter, give us a wee email, and give us a little 5-star review. We really appreciate it, guys. Bryce, before we go, do you have any little teasers you want to give to the ladies and gentlemen for next week? Ooh. Is it about Steve Blackman?
Unfortunately not. As much as I would like it to be, it's not about Steve Blackman.
Is it about Hardcore Holly?
It's unfortunately not. It's not about Hardcore Holly. If I was to give away one clue, I would say natural disasters.
Ooh. I know exactly what this means. I don't know what it means. Help me. Anyway, if you want to know exactly what that's about, you got to make sure to tune in next week. Making Kayfabe. We're going to blow your socks off. It's going to be a great time. Thank you very much for listening, guys. We really appreciate it. Anything else you want to say, Bryce?
Nope. Cheers, folks. Thanks for listening.
Sweet. Thanks. Thank you very much, guys. We'll see you in the next one.